All right, I'd like to call the meeting to order. As you can see, Ms. Shields could not join us this evening, so we're going to begin by appointing our Clerk Pro Tem. I'll read it in. Be it resolved that in the absence of the District Clerk, the Board of Education hereby appoints Business Manager Ms. Catherine Platt to serve as Clerk Pro Tem for this meeting. May I have a motion, please?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? No. Great. All right, let's all stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Sorry. All right.
President
Which
McNall.
flag? Yes. Here.
Vice President Clements. Here. Trustee Clemenson.
Here.
Trustee Headland.
Here.
And Trustee Valentine is absent tonight.
Great. Moving on to the approval of the agenda. Ms. Platt?
Be it resolved that upon the recommendation of the Superintendent of Schools, the Board of Education hereby approves the agenda as written.
May I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? No. All right. Welcome, everybody. It's a wonderful evening, in spite of what has become a more and more sort of smoky occasion. Although the light was pretty extraordinary during the day. Kept having to think, did I turn the lights on in my house, or what's happening here? Hopefully everyone stayed healthy, and hopefully we didn't spend too much time outside today, even though we were talking about lots of traveling. The next meeting of the Haldane Board of Education is scheduled for Tuesday, June 20th at 6:15 p.m. in the auditorium. The board will take an immediate recess for our tenure recognitions, and we'll reconvene at approximately 7 p.m. for the workshop meeting. The workshop topic for that evening will be the much-awaited campus master plan final report from CS Arch, which I'll be looking forward to seeing then. Dr. Benante?
Thank you, Sean. I appreciate it. As we begin to close out the school year, it tends to be a very celebratory time on our campus and around our campus. Last week, I had the opportunity to attend the Haldane Arts Awards, which is organized by the Arts Alliance. It was a fantastic, student-centered event, and I think my takeaway, not only is it a great recognition of our student, individual, and group performances, the way the Arts Awards facilitates it's really great to see the connections between and among our students who, in many cases, have come together to work on these various performances throughout the year. So to see that celebration and their support of one another is really special. And congratulations again to all the students and families who had the opportunity, and our teachers who had the opportunity to be a part of that work. Our senior class dinner was last week as well. Was it last week, Mrs. Sniffen? I think you're nodding yes. Yeah. Julie, this is the time of the year where Julie and I, every day there's something, and every evening there's an event, so we lose that sense of time. Senior dinner was last week. It was, again, fantastic event. Several parents who are a part of that. Julia will do a great job of recognizing all of the individuals who are part of putting together the senior dinner and other events that come at the end of the year, I'm sure later this month during her board report, but just a great opportunity for our senior class to come together, which I would say is a unique thing. It's not, sometimes classes are too big to bring together in such a way. The fact that we're smaller and that our students can enjoy these types of experiences with one another as a class is something that really makes us special, and a wonderful evening with our senior class in preparation, or as they begin to get ready for commencement next weekend. I also just wanted to mention that our athletics awards ceremony is tomorrow evening, 6 o'clock. We look forward to that. I know our booster club and Mr. Bauerlein have been working together to bring together the program, Ms. Thomas as well, our athletic secretary, so that's going to be another great event as well. And the PTA Strawberry Festival is Thursday, 4 o'clock. I think we run until 6 o'clock. Looking forward to that event as well that our PTA brings together. So great time on campus, lots of activities. Again, a very celebratory or joyous time, and it's just been great to be a part of. I did want to mention during the last meeting, I had some follow-up items on the lockdown that we had on campus a couple of weeks ago. I just shared with the board right before I came down, so you don't have it in front of you, but one of the items that I identified, or our team identified for follow-up, was reevaluating all of the doors and hardware, the locking mechanisms on our door in our district as a result, because we realized through the lockdown that the functionality of some of those is in question. Fuller and D'Angelo, Bill Means, our rep from Fuller and D'Angelo, did come through, did a full assessment of all of the doors and locking mechanisms in the district. He cost that out for us, so you'll see, I think, 4 quotes that are included in that work. Doors and locks are expensive, more expensive than I could ever have imagined, and the cost, just to put a ballpark figure on it, range depending on the type of lock. The door, I asked him just to go with what is the industry standard now. If we were building a new school, what door would we put on those classrooms? So the doors are all the same. It's the locking mechanisms that's really driving the variability in the cost. To replace all of the doors, to bring them up to industry standard and change locking mechanisms would range between $375,000 and $900,000 for our campus, which was not quite what I was expecting, but cost prohibitive, no less. It's not as if we can just go ahead and do that. So we'll first target areas that we know are more vulnerable. Doors just aren't functioning the way they should, and replace those. And then if we want to replace all the doors and all the hardware, that's something that we can probably discuss in conjunction with any capital project, because at that cost, that's how we'll need to approach that. So I just wanted to make the board aware of that we continue to follow up on those items. I have the good fortune of representing Haldane at many regional events, and I'm honored to present to 20 or so administrators on Thursday from around our state who are interested in pursuing the superintendency. I got tagged for that somewhere along the way, which is really just a great opportunity for me to share great things that we're doing here at Haldane, and to encompass what the work looks like here. That's my session as a day in the life of a superintendent. So we had some folks from BOCES come and attend meetings that I was a part of with our administrative team and with our teachers. So I'm really looking forward to presenting to that group later this week. As Sean noted, on June 20th, CS Arch will be here for the Campus Master Plan final report. The PPS audit was originally scheduled to be this month. That was delayed, so just as a reminder, one of the individuals who was working on the audit had a leave of absence, but is since back. So we'll have the draft report this month that will be shared with the board, and then I'll work with the board leadership to determine when that a more detailed report should be provided in public session. That way we have the time to discuss as a group in open forum. I have a few folks I'd like to introduce when the time comes, but with that, that'll conclude my remarks for this evening.
Right. Thank you so much, Dr. Benante. We have no special presentations this evening, so we'll move on to our first public comment. The Haldane Board of Education desires and values input from the entire school community. This first public comment session is reserved for comments on any special presentations or active agenda items. For those who wish to address the board, please sign in, state your name for the record. Please keep your remarks to 3 minutes or less. Disparaging remarks and discussion of district personnel are strongly discouraged, and although we do not engage in dialogue, we're listening. Please leave your contact information with our District Clerk Pro Tem, Catherine Platt, for prompt follow-up from the board president or the superintendent. No? All right, just in case. Moving on to our information reports. Here we have financial reports, appropriation status reports, unless there's any questions or anything like that. Moving on to consent agenda minutes. May I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
All right, these are the minutes from the May 15th special meeting as well as our May 16th Board of Education meeting. Any discussion? No? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? No. All right. Moving on to our committee minutes. There are many committee minutes in here. If this is an opportunity for any board member who'd like to express anything they may have gleaned from any of these, I can say from the Code of Conduct Committee meetings, we sort of like in the policy, we were revising and looking at the language and whether it continues to be compliant with ever-changing state law, but they were good.
And the decision
question was yes. I mean, because that policy had been
Correct.
rewritten well recently, yeah.
Great. Nothing? All right. Okay, moving on to consent agenda financial. May I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second?
All right. Any discussion? No? All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? No? All right. Moving on to consent agenda personnel. May I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
All right. Dr. Benante.
Yeah, just a few notes. First, I'd like to thank Ms. Boonshoft for her service to the district. Ms. Boonshoft is resigning her position as a arts teacher here at Haldane for personal reasons. We're sad to see her go. Katie's done a great job over the course of the last 2 years, but we wish her well in her future endeavors. I did want to take a moment just to introduce the board to Christopher Blair. Chris, if you could give us a wave here. Chris is our recommended candidate for the ELA position at the middle school level, replacing Mr. Doherty, who is retiring. Chris has spent the last 5 years teaching on Long Island, but he's returning to some roots here in the Hudson Valley. And Chris and I'll never forget Chris, regardless of whatever paths our lives take us in the future, because during the lockdown, Chris was interviewing for the ELA position. So we got to know Chris really well. I can assure you we've thoroughly vetted his credentials. And yeah, we shared a moment together with a small group of individuals, but Chris handled it really well. I hope the rest of us, I hope your impression was that we did as well during that. Yeah. So again, welcome Chris to Haldane, pending board's approval in just a moment here. And I also just wanted to welcome Tom Cunningham. Tom, I give a wave. I think everyone knows who Tom is. Tom has spent the past 5 years in Hyde Park as their director of athletics, but he also spent 5 years here as our director of athletics earlier in his career. We're all really enthused by Tom's desire to return to Haldane. Tom is an incredibly hard worker. He's highly respected and appreciated among his peers and colleagues in the region, and he will bring us so much needed stability in this role, again, pending your approval. And I know Tom wanted to say hello after we finished the vote here. So with that, I'll just pause and
Great.
move to the board.
All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? No. Great.
Tom, I know you wanted to say hello, so please feel free to. And congratulations.
Thank you. Do I have to hit anything here?
Nope, you're good. You're live.
Again, I just want to say thank you for the opportunity. I want to thank the Board of Education, Dr. Benante, everybody that was on the interview process. Was very extensive, so I know this is a big position when people take the time to interview and go through the process, and there's a lot of decisions to make, so I appreciate that opportunity. I'm looking forward to coming back. As I said in my interview process, had a really good time here. As a new athletic director, still have a lot of the same staff, so I'm looking forward to getting back together with them. And again, I'm looking forward to starting July. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Congratulations, Tom. And Chris,
Congratulations.
congratulations to you as well. And Chris, if you would, just hang out for a few minutes as our meeting wraps up. I'd love for you to have the opportunity to meet each of our board members.
I'm just looking forward to Tom continuing our run of state championships.
Yeah.
So
Bar's pretty high, Tom.
Oh, my goodness.
there we go. See?
All right. And Chris, just so you know, we also welcomed a new middle school chemistry teacher in our last meeting, and she was asked to come up and give an impromptu speech and questions. And we won't put you through that as well, but we welcome you nonetheless. All right, great. So moving on to new business. Yeah, Ms. Platt.
The CSE CPSE recommendations. Be it resolved that upon the recommendation of the Superintendent of Schools, the Board of Education hereby approves the recommendations of the Committees on Special Education and Preschool Special Education as presented.
Great. May I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? No? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? No. All right, moving on to our August business meeting date discussion. Dr. Benante, can you refresh our memory as to what's on the agenda for that August
Sure.
meeting?
So typically our district-wide safety plan, which needs to be adopted prior to the start of the school year, at times code of conduct, just depending on where we are with that. Some that may roll over into the September meeting, excuse me. But I think that's in good order. We should be fine for August. And then any new hires that we have between this point in time, or I should say June 20th meeting and that August meeting, we place on the August agenda for vote and approval by the board.
Great. So we had considerable difficulty last time trying to find dates in August that worked for everybody. I will go ahead and say that, Tuesday evenings remarkably remain pretty firm and open for me throughout the summer. So we can start by looking at Tuesday evenings if any of them work anytime in August.
Not if you want me.
Right?
August 15th is the one Tuesday that I'll be.
Put the marker down.
I will not be here, but I'm a low man on the totem pole, so I do
Oh, no, we are equals in all things. So for now, we have at least 2 available for the 15th.
I'm here on the 15th.
And you are too.
I
John is
am,
here on the
yes.
15th. Okay. Well, Ezra,
Anything-
where will you be, Ezra, on the 15th? Are you on vacation?
Yeah, that's vacation.
you're not gonna wanna-
I get my 1 week there.
Okay.
Yeah.
And if we tried to pressure you to zoom in or something like
The
that?
beautiful Jersey Shore.
Oh, on the Jersey Shore. But they have Zoom
My
in
roots.
Jersey, I think.
Wow.
They do have.
I think we just need a quorum.
That's right. We
Yeah,
do.
you
Sean.
do.
And we have 3 even without Maggie being here.
exactly.
So,
Maggie,
yes,
yeah.
we can.
She is often gone. I feel like she may.
She may have challenges in the.
Well, my memory. I know she takes a really long vacation somewhere out west in the summer, and I can't remember if it was August or not. But I mean, if we choose the 15th, I think the 3 of us will have to be
Yeah.
pretty dedicated to being
Yeah,
here
I'm
on
totally-
the 15th.
Anything after the 12th is basically good for me. For the
Great.
the rest of
Okay.
August.
So then, shall we agree to provisionally the 15th? We'll talk to Maggie about it and say that that's the day we're going to set it.
I think so.
Great. Oh, that was nice.
I think
That was-
ideally we'd want to find a date when that 4 of us could make it
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
case something happened.
Just in
But
case,
yeah.
Well, let's say that pending Maggie's approval of
Yeah.
that date then. Great. Pardon me? Oh, no, we have to see if you're available too, don't we? Oh, my goodness.
Yes, of course.
Yes. Okay, great. All right, we should share GCal. Okay, great. All right, so moving on, I believe we need action on the next. Ms. Platt?
Be it resolved that upon the recommendation of the Superintendent of Schools, the Board of Education hereby adopts the following Haldane Central School District policy: 7150 remote learning and 8450 home, hospital, or institutional instruction, homebound instruction.
Great. May I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second?
All right, Dr. Benante or Peggy, you have anything you'd like to add or say?
Yeah, I mean, both of these revisions are a little more extensive, but both policies were revised by Erie 1 to reflect, in some cases, changes in state policy. I think the remote learning one, in my opinion, a lot of that was really, I think, changed to reflect better how we now think and talk about remote learning. So they're pretty straightforward.
If nothing else, it's remote learning rather than remote instruction.
Instruction, true. Yeah, right.
Actually,
Or
no,
you said remote-
that's
remote
wrong.
instruction rather
No,
than-
I'm wrong. It's in remote instruction
Rather
instead of
than-
remote learning, which
Yeah.
is, that's exactly right.
Yeah.
It's remote instruction instead of remote learning. So that's, but a lot of terms are defined. We actually talked about the policy, the home, hospital, I don't, anyway, we talked about them for a while and
Yeah.
all felt good about them on the policy committee. Yes.
Great. All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? No. All right, moving on to our Board of Education, retreat agenda. Dr. Benante?
Yeah, it's on for discussion, so I just wanted to draw the board's attention to it. Sean, Peggy, and I met yesterday to talk about an anticipated agenda, a rough outline, if you will, that we're just seeking your feedback on. So I'll provide my notes, and then if Sean or Peggy have anything else to add, please do. So first, just logistics. We're scheduled to meet on July 11th following the reorg meeting. So we anticipate being able to meet right around 11 o'clock or so for the actual board retreat portion, probably sooner, but let's just say 11 to be conservative. And we're scheduled to end at 2 o'clock, and that's at the Putnam History Museum. So we'll have the reorg meeting on campus here, and then we'll transition over to the Putnam History Museum for the board retreat. There are 3 items that we think or thought made the good constructs for an outline here. First, the potential for a capital referendum. So CS Arch will be here on the 20th. They're going to present a lot of information. Board's going to engage in some discussion there, but it would probably benefit from us reconvening or using that time on the 11th to talk a little bit more about what CS Arch has presented, as well as some other particulars that I'll provide with the board at that time. There's the Board of Ed goals, as well as the board's evaluation this year, and using that as a mechanism to follow up on items that were related to board goals and anything that came out of the evaluation process, which John has led on the board level. Specifically, we thought in the areas of advocacy, because there was some discussion around that earlier this school year, that it may make sense to come back to that and talk about what is our strategy going to be with respect to advocacy, or the board's strategy going to be with respect to advocacy for the upcoming school year. And then follow up on district goals. And I think what I've heard is that both the board and the superintendent and me aspire for our students to experience excellence in their classroom experience on a consistent basis here at Haldane. So spending some time discussing what this looks like and how our leadership team, our administrative team, can best approach this work in the future seems to be a good topic of discussion. This would not be facilitated externally. We agreed that this can be managed between board members and me, and that's what I have at this point. So, is there anything I missed or left out?
We talked a little bit about instructional excellence as a possible topic. There were many different things that were floated, and I'm curious to know from either you, John, or Ezra, if there are things that sort of top of mind for you that we might include in that in one way or another. Things that.
That was the one that I was going to highlight. I was assuming that was couched in that last bullet.
Right. That's why
I'd love to have a conversation about that, just in general. But yes, thank you.
I'm good.
No, be good. All right.
Can I just add one thing?
Please.
So one thing I think what we might want to do is think about, and I guess it would become old business, but I feel like in terms of our own self-evaluation, this third goal about district advocacy, I think the plan is to talk about it some at the retreat, but I wondered also, since it was one of our goals for this year, if we might want to have a conversation about it at the next meeting.
Okay.
So I'll be honest, I mean, we floated around a lot of different ideas about what that could look like, but our goal for ourselves for this year was to, I think, make some decisions. And even if we don't make some decisions, I think at the very least we want to have a conversation, because just in the same way that we are asking Dr. Benante and the district to identify goals that have measurable outcomes, I think obviously we want the same for us. So I was kind of thinking that if we had like an initial conversation, it might set us up better, if you're okay with it, to have a more productive conversation at the retreat.
So when we put it on the agenda for next
For the 20th.
meeting,
Yeah.
I can float a couple of, we could do X, Y, or Z, and
Yeah.
that could serve as the bones for a conversation.
That
Right.
would,
Is that right?
work.
Okay.
And then I guess we also need to figure out, we need to do our own self-evaluation too,
Yes.
I guess,
Right.
at some
Oh, that's
point.
true. That's
Yeah.
true. Okay.
So,
All right.
then
So
we-
I'll put that on my agenda
Okay.
list of things to do.
All right, thank you, Peggy. All right, this is our second communication from the public. We'll assume that no one arrived unless, Mr. McConville, you represent the public and would like to speak? No, not at this time. Okay, thank you. You spoke a lot today, I'm sure, so thank you. All right, so moving on to board reflections. Does anyone have anything?
Only two, and they're sort of questions. One, because we have the CS Arch final report coming up next time, and I know that was a focus of a lot of attention at the beginning of the year, and a lot of people have been involved. Anything we can do to get more word out about it for people who might be interested in either attending or watching at home?
Two things that come to mind immediately,
Okay.
and we'll leave it open for further feedback. Our community Campus Master Planning Committee
Yeah.
will be engaged next week around the report. So if we consider about 30 community members are going to have access to it at that point. It's such a huge file. I think we're trying to figure out right now how to get everybody access to it. But they'll have it and have the opportunity to review. So I just think informally, word will get out as that committee engages with it. And then we can publicly post it as long as we can get the file or it posted in some
Or
way.
just
which I'll-
let people know that it's.
Yep, and then through community message, draw people's attention that it's posted on the district website in draft form, and that the board will be discussing it,
Yeah.
hearing
An
a
opportunity
presentation and discussing on the 20th.
People to ask questions. Or,
Yeah, and my assumption, and I didn't want to get too far ahead of it, is that it's a lot of information that's going to be presented to the board on the 20th. The board's not going to be in a position to adopt anything or endorse anything necessarily at that meeting. We have the summer. When we come back to school in September, that's another really good opportunity as we have a lot of families coming in for back to school nights and whatnot to draw their attention to it if they had not seen it by then, and then to obviously be prepared at a board level to hear community feedback on it before the board actually adopts the report, which I would say maybe we should put off until late September, early October.
so is it, you bring up something, is that sort of one of the steps, which is basically like, we accept this, we bless this, we don't have any question, we don't feel like you missed something that you need to do some rework
Yeah,
on?
I know one other point of feedback you may have is that, again, don't want to get too far ahead of this, but CS Arch is going to present 3 different phases of work that encompasses different elements of the projects that you've seen at different points. So there may be community feedback and a desire to see something move
From
phase
phase
3 to
Sure.
phase 2 or phase 2 to phase 3. That's the type. I think you'll see in the report, it encompasses everything that you've seen or heard or commented on up to this point. It's where does it sit in respect to the phasing.
Right.
And that's where I would imagine that there's some, you're going to want to hear more from the community on before you formally act on endorsing it.
Okay. And phasing will be tied to budgetary requirements
Yes.
as well, so that will be.
Yeah, so in the background, our financial advisors are working on that.
Okay.
Catherine and I have been in touch with them over the course of the last 2 weeks. They're in touch with CS Arch.
Okay.
And that's a level of information I don't believe you'll necessarily have on the 20th, but you
Right.
will have shortly thereafter.
I suspect we might have it in our summer retreat when
Correct.
we talk about, okay. Or at least some visibility.
Yeah, so
into it.
that, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, you'll have it by the retreat.
Cool. All right, cool.
I think the Rolling Stones sang a song about that. Yes, exactly. Just real quick, I wanted to mention, it was nice. I had the opportunity to attend the PTA safety forum. I thought the administration did a really nice job kind of presenting, the whole administration team was up there and it was really clear with the community about, what they knew, what the next steps were, and I thought that was really helpful. And then, if I didn't mention it before, had the opportunity to go to the middle school. Music concerts were really good, and yet again, everything with the arts here seems to always be firing on all cylinders, which is always really awesome to see. So, yeah.
About this time, I always discuss the number of current graduates that are in the employ of the company that I happen to work for. But I had an interesting one where, just to show you how it's just, we're all so embedded one with another. I got a call the night before our first preview of a production that we just opened from Martha Mekalakis begging me to let our house manager go because he was expected to be at the awards meeting. So I had to then go to our newly hired audience services manager, who is also the mother of a graduating senior, and explain to her that, Luca needs to be there. What are we going to do? How are we going to manage this? So 3 members of our graduating staff have been working at the Hudson Valley Shakespeare Festival since, they were kids. Like, they're still kids, but they were even much younger. Like, they shouldn't be working. That's how young it seemed. And I'm going to miss them so desperately, but it's always good to know that there are folks on their heels that are coming up that are just as engaged and interested that we can work with. So just wanted to share that. So, Dr. Benante?
No further comments from you?
No? Great. All right. Then I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All right. Any discussion? No? All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Me too. Any opposed? No. Great. Thank you so much.